Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the moment of truth.
There is not a liberal America and a conservative America. There is the United States of America. There is not a black America and a white America and Latino America and Asian America. There's the United States of America.
Yeah, for a little while there, he actually thought he got away with it. For the kickoff to Black Media Appreciation Month, we talked about the figurative scalps that we had taken over the years, and of course we gotta mention Barack Obama on that list. Bootlicks on the left and the right know exactly what the dominant society wants to hear from them. Now, you would have thought that somebody who at the time was running for a Senate seat in the Democratic Party and who was delivering the keynote address at the DNC convention would never say something as stupid as there is no black America or white America. Why would this guy be engaging in this level of open denial of reality? You had the actual VP candidate for that particular race, John Edwards, who was saying that there were two Americas, and yet the biracial Politico Obama, he knew what the dominant society really wanted to hear, what their favorite catnip is, telling them that there's no racial divide in America, which white people understand means, hey, here's a black guy who's saying he's not going to change the racial status quo, which means that this is a black person letting them know that the system of goodies, giveaways, and guarantees that's been in place for them for 500 years isn't going to be threatened if you go ahead and elevate this guy. That's what brothers like Sam Greenlee meant when he said this is a Negro who's auditioning for a white audience. That's the devil's bargain you have to make to get on white power's payroll. You have to make it clear to an absurd degree that you're not merely non-threatening, you're actually an agent for white supremacy. You are hostile to anything that threatens white supremacy, because if you're not trying to tear white supremacy down, that means you're trying to keep it propped up. Dr. Claude Anderson said that politicians respond to the conditions under them. I would add a caveat to that, though. The politicians are at war with black America, so shaking the ground under their feet isn't what makes them respond. They've spent 500 years building and reinforcing a system specifically meant to not respond to black people's demands. We have to subject the bastards to a breaking process, and that takes time. Barack Obama's entire pitch to his white paymasters was that he could corral the black vote. He was going to be the Negro whisperer-in-chief, and for a while it seemed like he had pulled it off. But he lost his mojo when it became clear to the last few Obama dead-enders that his second term was as empty for black voters as his first, and even he knew that whatever spell he thought he cast on black voters had worn off. Yes, he was younger and an unknown quantity in 2004, and when he ran for president in 2008, the white media was hyping him as young and different. He wasn't like the old guard. It was a lie, but a lot of people fell for it. But they became disillusioned soon enough, and while the majority of black baby boomers' hearts still went pitter-pat for him, by 2012, Gen X and the millennials had already had enough of the buck-dancing shill from Chicago, and by 2016, the party was over. Hillary Clinton was clearly in trouble no matter what the white media had tried to say, and even Obama knew that the writing was on the wall. As James Carville himself admitted, black voter turnout had been trending downwards ever since 2013. That means that the unprecedented black voter turnout that had happened during Obama's first and second presidential campaigns, that all ran out of steam right after he got reelected. Black voters realized at that point this guy isn't going to do anything. His second term wasn't going to be some glorious revival of black empowerment. Instead, it was going to be a self-interested Politico who was trying to coast his way to 2016. But what he didn't know was by the time he got to that point, his back would be against the wall. Obama was like a magician who had run out of smoke and all his mirrors were broken. Robbed of his ability to BS black voters, he resorted to what would become his permanent method of addressing the black community: open insults and barking out his demands.
And after we have achieved historic turnout in 2008 and 2012, especially in the African American community, I will consider it a personal insult. An insult to my legacy if this community lets down its guard and fails to activate itself in this election. You want to give me a good send-off? Go vote!
Yep, The blowhard in chief was barking like a mutt, but the black voters knew that his bark was nothing compared to our bite, and we ripped his legacy to shreds. That attempt at shaming tactics against the black community, that was a high-stakes gamble for Obama. He was forced to openly admit that he had to put his legacy on the table, and only black people could preserve it. Only black people could put Hillary Clinton in the White House. And if she lost, he would personally blame black voters for it. That's supposed to be some sort of social blackmail. If she doesn't win, I'm going to hold the black community responsible for it. And you saw the black community wasn't scared at all. And understand something. When you saw Barack Obama angry and yelling, that was him trying to mobilize the baby boomers. That's what he was trying to do. It's just like that crap he tried last year. He thought he was going to do some last ditch to get the simps and a whole bunch of shea butter sellouts to try to attack black men, not even knowing that black women were already onto the okie doke and turned against him. See, that generation, the baby boomers, they were completely and thoroughly aspirational. They mastered the art of living vicariously. White power figured out that that generation didn't need power or prosperity. Just let them see one of their own as a congressman like, say, John Lewis or Jim Clyburn. Let them see some of their own on TV and a few TV shows and movies, and a few on the university campuses, and they'll gladly settle for that. The black baby boomers became a generation of dreamers. Well, as Dr. Ben said, you got people saying I'm living the dream. What dream? A dream will kill you if you try to live by it. He was talking to the boomers on that one. But what the Democrats didn't realize was by 2016, things had changed in the black community. They were talking to the wrong audience. We cannot be a people who try to live in our imaginations. You do that, you'll live a life of delusions, and when you look at our political posture for the last 60 years, it's been a bunch of wishful thinking and daydreaming, imagining that we had allies, when in reality we've been encircled by enemies the whole time. And even Obama's own buddies weren't safe. Henry Skip the Truth Gates was one of the people most credited with coining the phrase post-racial America. And in Obama's first term, the real America came into Skip Gates' own house and arrested him. And Obama, not wanting to galvanize the racist, decided to make nice with the very criminal who had arrested his friend. You see, Obama never had any angry, harsh words for these white supremacists. Then again, he sees himself as being one of them. His associations are with them, his worldview is with them, and he depends on them for every crumb of his daily bread. For presidents, it's all about the so-called legacy. What will they be remembered for? What's their page in history going to be? Well, that page usually depends on whatever they did last. And in Obama's case, that was to lose. Not once, but twice. Nobody's going to care about Obama and the Affordable Care Act, which for a lot of people turned out to be not so affordable. It was just a pathetic rebranding of Mitt Romney's own putrid healthcare plan. Obama's entire goal was to play it safe. He figured that he was guaranteed to get the black vote simply because, so he could go ahead and freely insult us and do nothing for us, and then come 2016, he would get to put the capstone on his do-nothing administration by successfully handing the keys to the White House over to a fellow Democrat. Having one political party control the White House for more than 8 years is a feat that hasn't been pulled off since Ronald Reagan back in the 1980s. See, when Obama was talking about his legacy, that was what he meant. It's all one big vanity project for him. But Obama lost his clout long before he left office. Sure, the gaunt, scrawny zombie shuffling around, wagging his finger in black voters' faces is a joke. But that's because we were the ones who reduced him to a laughingstock. Now, you would think that the GOP would have been celebrating the fact that Barack Obama was handed 2 L's by the black community who refused to turn out in huge numbers because of him. The younger black voters, the ones born after the boomers, they do not regard Obama with anything but contempt, and the GOP knows this just like the Democrats do. And yet, you don't even see the Republicans deciding that they're going to dance on Barack Obama's political grave. Why is that? For the same reason as the Democrats, the Republicans are also aware that there's an undercurrent of black righteous indignation surging just beneath the surface of the political landscape now. They recognize that the entire reason Barack Obama was handed those defeats is because there's now black people who are getting on code and practicing the essential selfishness of survival. The white media made Barack Obama, and the black media broke him. Yes, it took time, and there were people who told themselves that our opinion of him meant nothing, but we're the ones who got the last word. These days, buck-dancing Barry doesn't know what to do with himself, so he's just wandering the earth like Kwai Chang Caine, a ghost drifting aimlessly from place to place. He's occasionally spotted, but nobody ever bothers to ask for his autograph anymore. He can walk around openly in broad daylight now without a big Secret Service detail because nobody cares about him. He thought that he would be some kind of post-White House sage, called upon by the media and all kinds of people for his wisdom and advice, but he's remembered most for what he did last, and what he did last was to lose to his arch-nemesis, a Cheeto-colored racist who spent years saying that he wasn't even an American. Even after the 2021 insurrection, when Barack Obama got out there, he had no ability to actually guarantee he could get black votes. All he could do was finger wag and harass and harangue, and even the white media had to say that ain't working. And since Barack Obama is a product of the white media, when it comes to adversity, he handles it the same way they do. He'll just keep doing the same thing, only more of it. Last year was his second high-profile political humiliation, and this time around, the on-air and online bootlicks didn't even bother to try to do any damage control. They couldn't speak up for him. They couldn't make any excuses or lies. He's cooked, and they know it. This is why the black media exists. We don't have the most power yet, but we are the most persistent and relentless. We continue to hit our opponents and hit them until they fall. Barack Obama found out the hard way that he was wrong back in 2004. There is a black America, a foundational black America. And it's that black America who sent Barack Obama back to the obscurity from which white power had plucked him. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Arlaz, David Williams, Sean, Cedric Etheridge, and Delvion Burton. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.